With just over a month to go until the Tokyo Olympics, Japan has just announced it is lifting its coronavirus state of emergency in the capital this weekend. From Sunday, there will be relaxed restrictions on alcohol services in bars and restaurants. Some restrictions will still remain in place, though. The current state of emergency allows only 5,000 people or 50% of venue capacity, whichever is smaller. The government now saying that areas not under any restrictions can have up to 10,000 fans. Despite this, though, the Prime Minister asked people to watch the Olympics at home. He said lifting the state of emergency is possible due to a recent drop in infections in Japan.
The total number of infections in the country has been declining since the middle of May. The number of people in critical condition is also decreasing.
That was the Prime Minister speaking just a short time ago. We're still monitoring this press conference as it's underway right now. It's quite a long one that the Prime Minister is delivering to the nation. He has just said that the country is getting closer to herd immunity as the pace of vaccination picks up. So that's just coming to us from the Prime Minister to remind you just over 6% of the population is fully vaccinated so far. Well, also watching this press conference is Richard Lloyd-Parry, Asia editor for the Times newspaper, and he joins me now. So a big moment, Richard, with the lifting of these restrictions and the state of emergency. Will it prove controversial?
Not really. I think this is what many people expected. Going ahead with the Olympics, that's controversial. And the timing of this announcement, I think no one could deny, is very closely tied up with that decision. And what this does is in some ways encapsulates the dilemma facing the Japanese government as it presses on with the Olympics, because it would look very bad to go ahead with the Olympics, the world's biggest sporting event in the world's most populous city, Tokyo, if that city was under an official state of emergency. But on the other hand, once they remove the state of emergency, I think everyone expects that the number of daily infections will start to go up again. And 5 weeks from now, when the Olympics kick off, who knows what level they will be at. We're expecting another press conference tomorrow from Japan's top medical advisor. What's he expected to say? Is he going to agree with the government on the lifting of restrictions? Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, but behind the scenes, we know that the government and its scientific advisors have had some differences of opinion. I mean, these are not scientists who are going to step seriously out of line, but they have stood up and challenged the government on some things in the past. And I know from having conversations with them myself that members of that advisory panel, some of them are unhappy with the way the government's handled it. They don't think their communication has been clear enough, and they think that there should be thresholds set for when the situation will be judged safe or not. The government gives the impression of not wanting to lay down those metrics because it then might be caught in a position where it's forced or under even greater pressure to call off these games, which it really doesn't want to do. So I think tomorrow the scientific advisor, Mr. Omi, will probably caution that these games are not without risks, and he will probably encourage people not to go and watch them in person. He'll want the numbers to be low. But I expect that he will not contradict this policy that has emerged in leaks in the last few days, which you mentioned, the government saying they want a cap of 10,000 on stadia, but no less than that.
Richard, the Prime Minister said right at the beginning he wants to avoid a rebound. He wants to avoid the hospital system collapsing. How bad has the pandemic been in Japan?
Well, Japan is now in its sort of fourth wave, the fourth spike on the graph. Compared to the countries of Western Europe and North America, Japan's actually had a pretty good pandemic. Until early this year, the end of last year, the numbers were very low compared to almost every other big industrialized country. Now they're in a situation where that's changing for two reasons. One, they've got this fourth wave and new variants coming in and spreading more quickly. But also vaccination rates are terribly low in Japan compared to almost every other comparably rich and advanced country. As you said, little over 6% of people have had both jabs now. It's going to be a bit higher when the Olympics come around, but not that much. So that's the context to all this.
Richard, great to get your thoughts. We'll let you get back to that press conference still taking place. The Prime Minister now talking about relationships with China, though, so he has moved on. But good to have you with us. Thanks.